Hi, I'm Guna Mathivanan. Welcome to Simply Current Affairs. So before going into today's editorial discussion, let us finish the feedback for the question which I gave in the last video. Friends, if you're watching this video series for the first time, then please watch the introductory video given in the playlist to know how to participate in this answer writing program. The initiative is open to all. As you all know, we have launched our exclusive current affairs and economy full course targeting prelims 2026. To know more about our courses, you can visit www.simplycurrentaffairs.com, or you can WhatsApp to the number given in this video, or you can click the link given in the description to know more information about the courses. Right. The question which I gave in the last class, the disconnect between official retail inflation data and ground level realities shows urgent need to update the consumer price index in India for effective monetary policy making. Elaborate. So how to structure the answer for this question? The disconnect between the official retail inflation data and the ground level reality shows an urgent need to update. So this disconnect is what we are going to highlight in the introduction. Okay, so what is the official data and what is the ground reality? That you highlight in the introduction. Now this disconnect highlights the flaws in the CPI index which has to be corrected. Okay, that link line you are giving, and you are highlighting the flaws in the current CPI basket. Highlight the flaws. The base year is outdated, the basket has to be given differential weightage, right? New consumption pattern has to be incorporated into the basket. Urban and rural baskets are combined, and the combined basket is what we are focusing on. But there is a huge divergence in the consumption pattern of urban and rural, which should be taken into consideration while targeting the inflation. So all those problems in the CPI you highlight, right? Then you can suggest way forward. So what can we do? So what shall we adopt? So we can focus on, instead of headline inflation, we can go for the core inflation to understand the stable demand supply structural problems that you can highlight. So like that you suggest a way forward, then finally you can give a conclusion. Okay, so we have taken the answer of Veena. So Veena, your introduction is very good. India's retail inflation fell to 0.25% in October 25, historical low point since 2013. But household surveys continue to report 7.4%, significantly higher the inflation expenses. This reveals the disconnect between both. Excellent. Right? This reveals not just disconnect, which also highlights the flaws in the computation of CPI basket. You could have given that link. That link would have given some sort of coherence. So here what happens? You highlight the disconnect, suddenly you are putting a subheading that is flaws in the computation of CPI basket. This disconnect proves flaws in the computation of CPI basket which are listed below. Like that you could have given a link point and you could have gone. Not a big deal, but such link points will add value. So flaws in the computation of CPI basket, outdated and misleading weightage. The current CPI is based on 2011-12 base year, ignoring the effect of decadal long economic changes, rising income, COVID, etc. Point taken, very well point taken. The weightage bias in the basket as food and beverages has 46% weightage, being highly volatile, giving that much weightage will not reflect the reality. Point is taken. But you are comparing with the developed economy. In America, the weightage for the food and beverages could be 14%. Engel's law. What Engel's law says? When your income increases, the proportion of income which you spend for food and beverages will come down. So only when your income increases, the percentage of money you spend for food will come down. When your income is low, the percentage of money which you spend for food is going to be very, very, very high. Compare the per capita GDP of America and India. right? So when you compare with America and India, America will have almost $1 lakh will be the per capita GDP. In India, the per capita GDP will be roughly $2,000+. We cannot compare only. So in India, if you take an average household, at least 40% of their monthly expenditure, consumption expenditure will go for food items only. So here, I understand your point that we have given more weightage for food and beverages, which is highly volatile. But the suggestion which you are recommending is, you are comparing with developed economies. If you have some data point comparing with Brazil, comparing with South Africa, comparing with Indonesia, that will make more sense. Okay. This is the problem with the second one. The third point, poor representation of rising discretionary spending like education, health, that is point taken, correct? CPI combined, there is both rural and urban component. The point what you are trying to highlight is there's a divergent inflation experience. That is, in rural basket, the inflation impact could be different, and the urban basket, the inflation impact could be different. We are focusing on CPI combined. So what happens is the divergent inflation experience that we are ignoring it. So targeting CPI combined will not reflect the reality of either rural or urban, point taken. Persistent gap between reported inflation and consumer felt inflation erodes public trust in RBI statistics. The CPI shows a lower inflation than what actually felt. The RBI might mistakenly keep interest rates too low, which increases inflation instead of controlling it. These 2 points are correct points, but these 2 points are not connected with the subheading. What is a subheading? Flaws in the computation of CPI basket. These are consequences. These are consequences. This is not the flaw in the CPI basket, it's the consequences. So maybe you could have given this paragraph as a link paragraph for the way forward. Okay, this need not be put as separate points. This could have been a separate paragraph. Okay, disconnecting with the above subheading. Then you have given the way forward. The way forward, update CPI basket on recent household expenditure, fine taken. Urban rural CPI segregation, we have segregated indexes, but we are focusing on CPI combined. You are suggesting that we should focus differently. That is also point taken. Your suggestion is taken. Adopt hedonic pricing methodology, example used by US to adjust prices for. See, hedonic pricing is a method to find out the real prices of the goods and services. For example, if you take a house, okay, let us assume 1,000 square feet flat. 1,000 square feet flat. Let us say it is 1 crore rupees. But this is not going to be the same everywhere. Let's assume that we will take Chennai only, heart of Chennai, Anna Nagar we will take. In Anna Nagar, 1,000 square feet is 1 crore, assume. But there will be some apartment which might be closer to schools, closer to hospital, closer to park, closer to other sports complexes. Then this apartment, the pricing could be 1.1 crore. So, a product pricing will not be purely based on only that product. The product pricing is based on several characteristics surrounding the product. So, hedonic pricing methodology will take into account of all those aspects, and then it will account prices. You are suggesting that we should adopt hedonic pricing, but I do not know why we wanted to adopt hedonic pricing for inflation in India. Utilize the technology such as big data. For hedonic pricing, yes, we have to depend on big data because we have to collect a lot of data. Accordingly, only we have to arrive at the pricing. See, hedonic pricing methodology will definitely give a true figure, true price nature of a particular commodity. But here, we have problem in the basic basket only, base year only, reference material only, consumption behavior only. We have to address all those things first. Then we can think of the other westernized pricing methodologies. Okay, so thus a modernized, accurate inflation measurement is essential to bridge the gap between public perception and government, thereby preventing policy missteps and ensuring macroeconomic stability. This point is taken. Again, here from reading your answer, I am getting a feeling that the modernization which you are referring to is to adopt the Western pricing methodologies. Okay, the Western pricing methodology need not apply for India because India is a developing country. They are developed nations. Okay, so that differences we have to keep it in mind. Anyhow, very good attempt. Very good attempt. Okay. Right. So we will move on to the today's editorial discussion. So we have taken an editorial topic from the Hindu. Again, today's topic is also connected with inflation. The previous video, the last video which I gave it on Friday, that article is again based on inflation. The article which we are going to discuss today is also based on inflation. Both are from Hindu only, but both are having opposing views. The Friday article was highlighting that the headline inflation which we are following has problem. The headline inflation which we are following has problem, right? Because headline includes food and beverages, which account for 46% weightage in the CPI. This food and beverages is highly volatile. So because of that, it gives us a feeling that there is either higher inflation or lower inflation in CPI. So that article was saying instead of going for headline, we have to go for core. But however, this article is taking an opposite stand that we have to go towards headline only, not core. Okay, so completely diverging opinion which we are going to discuss in today's article. See, this article is not just about inflation. This article tries to review the flexible inflation targeting methodology which we have adopted since 2016. See, India adopted flexible inflation targeting in the year 2016. Accordingly, one of the primary tasks of RBI is to ensure price stability. See, we all know Reserve Bank of India regulates the banking activities in the country. But apart from that, RBI is entrusted with three other important tasks. One is maintaining price stability, another one is stimulating growth, another one is maintaining exchange rate stability. Among these three, the most important priority is price stability. Because only when you are maintaining the prices, you will protect the interest of the poor. If the inflation persists, then that is going to disproportionately have an impact on the poor section of the society, and which will affect both savings as well as investments. So price stability is very, very important. We have to give utmost priority. Right. So as I said, from 2016, we adopted flexible inflation targeting, where the Reserve Bank of India, through Monetary Policy Committee, they will use various monetary tools and they will ensure that the prices are maintained in a price range of, in an inflation range of 4 plus or minus 2%. Under this inflation targeting, Reserve Bank of India will target CPI combined, Consumer Price Index combined. Okay, which one? Headline inflation. So headline CPI combined will be the target indicator. And this headline CPI combined rate should be not beyond 4 plus or minus 2% range. Or basically, RBI should ensure that the CPI combined headline inflation is well within the range of 4 plus or minus 2%. So it can go as low as 2%, it can go as high as 6%. Preferably, the sweet spot is 4%. This is what we are following since 2016. The flexible inflation targeting, when it was introduced by amending the RBI Act 1934, which clearly stated that once in 5 years, the flexible inflation target range and the threshold point, that will be revised once in 5 years by the Government of India in consultation with the RBI. That means every 5 years, Government of India will revise this framework. This monetary policy framework will be revised to check whether we have to continue with this existing range or we have to vary, whether we have to follow CPI combined or something else, whether we have to continue with CPI headline or something else, whether we have to go with this 4 plus or minus 2 or 5 plus or minus 2 or 6 plus or minus 2, or we have to go with 4 plus or minus 2 or plus or minus 3. All these things will be reviewed once in 5 years. So next year in 2026, we are going to revise. We are going to revise this monetary policy framework, this flexible inflation targeting framework. So keeping this in mind, Reserve Bank of India has sought feedback and comments from the public. So in this backdrop, the authors of the article, they are discussing three important points. One is what to target. Should we target headline or core inflation? Second is what is the sweet spot? Okay, what inflation target which we have to focus. Third one is what should be the range. Okay, 4 plus or minus 2 or plus or minus 3, what should be the range? So these 3 points they are discussing, they will also discuss. The first point is what to target. We should target headline or core inflation. We saw on the Friday editorial, we saw that focusing on headline inflation is giving us unrealistic value. So we have to focus on core, because headline 46% CPI weightage is going for food. Food is highly volatile. So it can go high, it can go low. That very high, that very low will be short term in nature. If we go behind that, we will be carried away. So it is better to focus on core inflation. That is what the Friday article was saying. But look at this article. This article is highlighting that no, we have to go with headline only. Why headline only? Because see, headline inflation, that is what is actually reflecting the pain of the individuals. To whom we are trying to control inflation? Are we trying to control inflation just for the sake of numbers? We have to control inflation so that the poor is not feeling the burden. Right? So to understand the actual pain of the people, we have to understand the headline inflation. We have to take into account of the prices of food and fuel. Right? So this author is highlighting, is bringing a lot of economic concepts, old theories, and the author is trying to explain this fact. See, when there is a higher food inflation, what generally happens is the workers will be demanding a higher salary. When there is, imagine a situation when there is higher food inflation. When you remove this food inflation and when you measure only core inflation, what will happen? The core inflation will give you a feeling that there is no inflation only. So, you take only food inflation. Food inflation is very high. Now, because of higher food inflation, the workers will demand higher salary and the workers will be having more money in their hand. Keep this in mind. Now, if we take headline inflation into consideration, we will come to know the impact of food price. But if we take core inflation into consideration, you will have no idea about the food price only. Food price can be high, remaining other products can remain low, the prices can remain low. In that case, your headline will be higher, your core inflation would be lower. If RBI is targeting core inflation, it will give a feeling to the RBI that the inflation is under control, so they will reduce the interest rate, the money supply will increase. Already the wages is getting increased. Because of higher food inflation, the workers will be demanding more salary, so wages is increased. Now RBI, if it fails to track the food inflation and if it focuses only on core inflation, then the RBI will reduce the interest rate, the money supply will increase. Already the workers is getting more salary because of inflation. Along with that, with lower interest rate, if there is more money in the market, then the excess money supply will trigger demand pull inflation in other commodities. So what is started in food inflation, what is started as food inflation will be spreading into other commodities if this inflation is not taken into consideration. So RBI by taking headline inflation, when food price increases, headline will increase. When headline increases, RBI should control the money supply. Right. So what happens is, even when the factories, the companies, and they increase their dearness allowance, because of food inflation, that extra money supply will not cause a multiplier inflation, because RBI is focusing, another side RBI is controlling the money supply by looking at the headline inflation. So the first point to be understood is, we should focus on headline and not core. This is what the author is saying. Okay. The second point, what the author says, that is regarding the sweet spot. That is, what should be the target inflation range. Several studies has been done. In 1980s also a committee was set up, if I am not wrong, 1983 or 85, Chakravarti committee. The committee was asked to find out the maximum inflation which India can withstand. Or not maximum, what is the ideal inflation which is good for India. Chakravarti committee was given this task. Find out the ideal inflation rate which is good for the Indian economy. In 1980s only, Chakravarti committee said that 4% is a sweet spot. When India's inflation is at 4%, that is a sweet spot which will encourage growth, So we should ensure that the inflation engine is at 4%. In 2016, when Urjit Patel committee was appointed to find out the inflation targeting, which inflation we have to target, Urjit Patel also said that 4 plus or minus 2%. That is, the sweet spot is 4%. Sweet spot is 4%. Let us focus, let's have a bandwidth of plus or minus 2, but sweet spot is 4%. Right? At any cost, inflation should not exceed 6%. So all the year from 2016 we have data. Whenever we had the inflation at 4%, our growth is great, our investments are great. When our inflation crosses 6%, then the savings gets affected, investments getting affected. So at any cost, the inflation should be at 4% or maybe slightly less. Maybe 3.5% is also fine, but not more than 4%. So we have to continue with targeting 4% only. This is what the editorial also discusses. The third point which the editorial highlights is regarding the flexibility range. Today we have a range of 4 plus or minus 2%. So the discussion is going on. Should we continue with this plus or minus 2 or plus or minus 3 or plus or minus 1, etc. So here the author said that, see, plus or minus 2 is the ideal because 4 is the sweet spot, 6 is the maximum threshold. 4 is the sweet spot, 6 is the maximum threshold. Whenever we cross 6% inflation, that is backfiring India, that is the data says. So we can continue with this 4 plus or minus 2 target only. But however, we should ensure that the inflation is closer to 4%. Okay, so let us say inflation is 5.9, 5.95, and we should not feel happy or complacent saying that it is well within the range of 6%. We should not do that because 6% is the outer threshold. Beyond that, we will be failing. So keeping our inflation close to 6% for longer time is problematic. So duration matters. 4 plus or minus 2% means the inflation should be close to 4% and not 2 or not 6. The flexibility is given sometimes to give priority for growth. Understood? At the same time, we have to ensure it should not be so low or so high. So maybe we can have a time frame. 4% is the target. We can have a time frame. It should not stay at 6% for so long. It should not stay at 2% for so long. For example, for 2 quarters continuously, it should not stay at the higher threshold or lower threshold. Like that, a duration limitation can be brought in for the flexibility range. But 4 plus or minus 2 is ideal. So basically this article, the authors, they are academicians of Madras School of Economics. So they are highlighting that the current framework is proving well. Why we have to change it? Let's continue with the same framework. But however, mere continuation of this framework alone will not suffice. For effective control of inflation, we need the support of fiscal policy as well. Monetary policy and fiscal policy should work together because one side RBI is taking efforts to control the money supply. Another side, the government of India, in terms of deficit financing, in terms of higher deficits, if they are going to increase the government spending, then one side RBI tries to control money supply. Another side, government will be releasing a lot of money supply. And you will not achieve the objective. So we need to have a cooperation between these two. So for which we have to control the deficits. We have to adhere to the FRBM targets, fiscal responsibility, budgetary management targets has to be addressed, has to be adhered. So the takeaway is the monetary policy and fiscal policy should be in a sync, should go together. Only then we can maintain prices stable. Right? So this is what the article is all about. I hope you got clarity on the topic what we discussed today. Now based on this topic, I will give you a question. India's flexible inflation targeting framework is due for a review in March 2026. In this context, do you think India should revise inflation targets and measurement metrics? Substantiate your answer. So it is not necessary that you have to follow today's editorial tone while writing this answer. It is up to you. So I have discussed 2 diverging articles. One says continue with the same, another says no, we have to bring change. You want to mix both and you want to give an answer, you give an answer, no problem. Submit your answer before 9 AM tomorrow. Once you send the email in PDF format, you please mention in the comment that you have submitted the answer. Okay, right friends, I will see you tomorrow with another interesting editorial topic. Till then, bye, take care from Guna Mathivanan.